Now, lastly, we got to talk about Trey Lance. Now, Trey Lance had a really phenomenal touchdown to like open like his first drive. He got like this big touchdown that went for like a lot of yards, and after that wasn't really that much after that to really talk about. Like after that big touchdown that he had, he was 5 of 14, 128 passing yards and 1 touchdown. And Trey Lance pretty much performed how I thought he would. Now, you did have a couple of drops by wide receivers. I don't think the offensive line was all that great neither. But, you know, when it came to Trey Lance, there were some positives that made me say, okay, I definitely see why the 49ers drafted him. Like, this guy has tons of upside. But I also saw a lot of things that said, okay, Trey Lance isn't ready to start quite yet. And now there are a lot of 49ers fans who I've been going back and forth with over like the last couple of weeks saying that Trey Lance is ready to start week 1, this and that. And I keep telling people, I don't think Trey Lance is ready to start week 1. And, you know, I think this game against Kansas City was a pretty clear indication that Trey Lance still has a lot of room to go in terms of his development. You know, he had some flashes, he had some big plays there, but he also had a lot of plays where, you know, he still needs a lot of work. He still has more time to grow. Like I've been telling people, if Trey Lance was ready to start week 1, then we will be hearing more reports about how there's legitimate QB competition between him and Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo has already been named the starting quarterback this season for the San Francisco 49ers. Now, if Trey Lance came out and set the world on fire, then yeah. But I guess you kind of can say he set the world on fire because he did have that big play. But after that, there wasn't really that much cooking for Trey Lance. And I understand the offensive line wasn't great. I understand the wide receivers weren't great. But at the same time, though, there still were some plays there when you look at Trey Lance, you can say, okay, you have a guy who, yeah, he has flashes, but he's still not quite there yet. Now, I'm really interested in seeing how he performs this week in his next preseason game and the next couple of preseason games, because you guys got to remember that this is his first game. A lot of guys are going to continue to improve. Some guys are going to regress. But overall, I think Trey Lance pretty much performed the way I expected him to. You know, he had the big flashy moments there when everybody was like, wow. But after that, he did have some plays there, and I was like, okay, he's not ready yet. And my thing with Trey Lance is like, I think he's still too a little bit overly dependent on the big plays. I would like to see him, you know, try to check it down a little bit more often. And that's going to come with more repetition and more practice and whatnot. But Trey Lance, from right now, from what I saw, I still don't think he's the week 1 starter that a lot of 49ers fans are trying to point him out to be. I still think he has a lot of room to grow. Now, if he performs well the next preseason game that the 49ers play in the last preseason game, okay. But, you know, from what I've seen right now, I still don't think Trey Lance is there. And coming out of North Dakota State, you guys got to remember that he only played in like 1 game last year. So this is like his first football action in like a very long time compared to some of the other guys like a Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, or Justin Fields. So for Trey Lance, you know, he's still trying to get back into the flow of things. So I think that's another reason. But the wide receivers did let him down. The backup offensive line, woo! If one of the 49ers starters go down, they're off the line, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. But overall, man, like, I did like how, you know, that touchdown went down. I did like the fact that, you know, the 49ers did try to implement some things and how, you know, they would use Trey Lance. But overall, you know, I still feel like Trey Lance still has a lot of room to grow right now. And you know, I'm not going to be overly harsh on any of these quarterbacks. I'm not going to use, you know, say they're the next best thing since sliced bread, anything like that. I'm still going to wait for a lot of things to work themselves out because I understand this is the first preseason games. A lot of guys are still trying to get acclimated back into, you know, the shape of how the game speed is and still trying to get accustomed to the NFL and whatnot, especially in Trey Lance's case. So I'm not going to be too overly harsh on Trey Lance. You know, he had that big play. I was really impressed. You know, I was really impressed with what I saw of Trey Lance. You know, despite what the stats say, despite with how the game went after that big play, you know, I still think that Trey Lance was pretty solid in that game. You know, his wide receivers let him down. The blocking wasn't all that great. But overall, still, I don't think Trey Lance is ready to start just yet. You know, I know there's been a lot of plays that he's made during training camp that have been going, you know, all throughout social media. There's been a lot of 49ers fans saying that he's better than Jimmy Garoppolo. I didn't see it. I didn't see it. He will be better than Jimmy Garoppolo. No question about it. Is he more talented than Jimmy Garoppolo? Yes, he is. But is he ready to lead the team week 1? I'm not sure yet. And it is week 1, so I'm not going to say that, you know, he shouldn't be the week 1 starter or anything like that. But if the season was to start tomorrow, I still feel like Trey Lance still has some room to go. I wouldn't name him the starter just yet. I'm not saying he can't be. If he performs the next 2 preseason games, then definitely, you know, starting week 1. But for right now, he still has a lot of rooms to go. But he did have his big flash plays, which I expected.